Mick and Jen, thank you so much for joining me today. It's an honor just to be on stage with you. Before we even get started with the interview, just can't tell you enough how much the Annoyance has meant to me in my journey in Chicago. I believe in third spaces, and this is my third space, and it's changed my life.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's not a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so to start off, Mick, you grew up in Hazard, Kentucky.
I was born there.
Okay.
I grew up mainly in Ohio.
Okay. Was it close to Cleveland, or?
Yeah, Jennifer's from Cleveland.
Right.
I grew up in a place called Trenton, in between Cincinnati and Dayton.
Okay.
Near Middletown, Ohio. Pretty small town.
And what was that like growing up there in the 60s?
Well, it was very, very small. I went to Edgewood High School, which was literally by the edge of some woods. It was in the middle of a cornfield.
Sure.
So yeah, it was a pretty good upbringing. My father had a construction company, so I worked with him quite a bit. And I was involved in scouting a lot.
What were you scouting? Oh, like Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was scouting for talent. I was a very small child. You know, I was in Boy Scouts. I am an Eagle Scout.
Okay. Were your parents funny?
Yeah, I guess so in their own right. My dad laughs before everything he says, so.
Okay.
A lot. Not everything, but he does kind of, oh boy, that kind of thing.
And Jen, you grew up in Cleveland, correct?
Yeah.
At what age did you decide that you wanted to become an actor?
Pretty early. I started, I think when I was around 7 or 8, my aunt took me to drama classes, and I loved it. And so I remember my very first role, I was a babbling brook. I just laid on the ground and said babble. But then I got more into it in like 4th grade, and then by the time I got to 8th grade, I was fully like doing all the class shows and everything.
Okay. And at what point in your life did you think to yourself you could do that professionally?
There was a woman who, in my high school, she was 2 years older than I, and her name was Amy Silverman, and she was like the big senior girl, you know? And I was brand new, and I went up to her one day, and I was trying to make conversation, and I knew a thing to say to seniors was, what are you going to major in?
Right.
And she said, I'm going to major in theater. And I said, you can do that? That day was when I decided that I was.
And did you major in theater?
I did.
What college did you go to?
I went to Northwestern.
Oh, okay. How was that experience for you?
It was interesting. There were things that were wonderful. I made some of the best friends that I ever have had and continue to be friends. There were things I didn't like about it. The acting program is unique, I think, in that you have one teacher the whole time you're there. Your acting teacher is the same person, and I think that's limiting.
Sure.
And I think when I got out, I found that to be something I felt like I sort of needed to make up for.
Sure.
So that's what ended up leading me to take classes at Second City and all around Chicago, but it got me into improvisation and ended up being in the touring company for Second City and then on a couple of their stages. So it ended up being something that had me explore other things and get into other things, and eventually I would probably never have gotten to the Annoyance without all of that.
Sure. If you could do it over again, would you go to Northwestern again?
I think so.
Okay.
Or I think if I were to still go to Northwestern, I don't know that I'd major in theater. I think I would major in history.
Okay.
I think there's a lot to be said for taking acting classes and taking theatrical classes and stuff like that. I also love film, so I wish I had done some of that while I was at Northwestern, and I didn't. But I also think like having a history background is so hugely important for acting.
Sure. Mick, how did you discover improv?
I was in college doing plays, studying theater. I came across a book called Something Wonderful Right Away by Jeffrey Sweet, which is an interview with people that started Compass Players at Second City.
Okay.
And I became intrigued by it, so I decided to do it. I'd never seen it, nor had I ever done it, but I put a notice on our theater for at Indiana University to have people audition for an improv group.
Sure.
And me and my friend David and Merlin started a group called Double Take in college, so we learned how to improvise from doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to find your voice in improv?
Wow. I guess I'm still looking for that. But I guess with the Annoyance and stuff, when I got to Chicago and started studying at Second City, I wanted to do more of a kind of a more subversive kind of theater.
Okay.
More probably subversive than one would do at IO at the time or Second City. I didn't think that, or I wasn't reacting against that. It's just that I journeyed off and started doing that kind of theater. Started with splatter theater, co-ed prison sluts, and all of that. So I was like a real John Waters fan and real obtuse kind of stuff. I still am into that.
They credit Viola Spolin with being the mother of improv. Were you ever able to meet her?
No, I never did meet Viola Spolin. She passed away before my time. So I did, however, become friends with a guy named Martin Mott. Martin Mott was a very good improv teacher. He was one of the children that Viola Spolin worked with when he was a kid. And his aunt was Josephine Forsberg, who started the Players Workshop at Second City, which for a long time was the preliminary training center before you go to Second City. And she ran that, and she was friends and also a student of Viola Spolin. So I kind of traced around this lane.
Sure.
And Martin DeMott went on to become a very influential teacher of improvisation, and he has a theater named for him in Second City.
Jen, you are a pretty successful actress. You've been in things, everything from Empire to Law and Order to some of the Chicago series. What made you want to get involved with The Annoyance and Mick Napier?
Well, I auditioned for Splatter Theater.
Okay.
It was the first time The Annoyance ever had auditions. And as a result of those auditions, I and Susan Messing and Ed Furman, who were some of the original ensemble members of The Annoyance, were cast in that show. And I, at the time, had been working with a group from Northwestern that eventually became the group that was Looking Glass.
Okay.
And I was kind of going back and forth, and I really enjoyed what we were doing at The Annoyance, and I enjoyed the spontaneity of it, and so I sort of put all my eggs in that basket and kept doing shows with The Annoyance, and then on with Second City, and then also did stuff around the city at the various theaters that were around at that time, some of which are still, like Northlight or Organic and stuff like that. And I just really liked being able to kind of bounce back and forth, and I loved the ability to create what you were, to be part of the creation of what you were doing instead of it being only scripted.
Sure.
I think ultimately I, over time, decided that my passion really is from doing more scripted stuff. I love kind of the puzzle of figuring out a script and becoming the character that is written. But I've also really enjoyed being able to create stuff and tell stories.
Absolutely. Mick, you were in the Second City system for a while.
Yeah, I studied there, then I started teaching there when I was 24, and then I started directing there, so I've directed a lot of shows at Second City.
And you were also through the IO system a little
I
bit?
did, I was in IO for a while. I was on a Herald team for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm. What was the name of that Herald team?
Rhyme and Punishment. And it was great. It was with Dave Wazowski and Madeline, and there was a lot of good people. Rich Bagel.
Well, obviously you could have thrived in those systems. Why was it important for you to break off and do your own thing with The Annoyance?
I don't know that I thought that it was important, but I just kind of did it because I wanted to just gravitate towards kind of creative endeavors that were more interesting to me at the time.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of people sitting around in a restaurant thinking about blood shows, and we came with the idea of splatter theater, and then decided to make that happen. So it wasn't really in reaction to Second City or in reaction to IO. It's just a group of people that's like, hey, let's fucking do this and see what happens.
And was Splatter the first, like, Annoyance show?
Yeah, it was the first Annoyance show, but wasn't the Annoyance Theater at the time. It wasn't under that name, but yeah, it was the first group of people, or the same group of people.
Okay. At first, when it was first starting off, did you rent theater space from other places, or okay?
There was a place right down the street here called Cross Currents. It's no longer there anymore, right next to the Belmont L. And it had a second floor, and on the second floor was a small space that we rented to do splatter theater, and we eventually did co-ed and slots and whatnot.
Is that where Comedy Sports used to be? Is that space?
Comedy Sports used to be across the street in what was the inside, right by the L. Yeah, and they haven't been there for a few years.
Right.
It was right across the street from there.
Oh, okay.
The IO shared the
IO did share
space.
the cross current space with us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's so many different communities in Chicago Improv. You have your college kids who are kind of discovering what improv is. You have the people who are kind of using improv as a stepping stone to get to Saturday Night Live. What was the first sub-community to kind of embrace what the Annoyance was and what you guys were doing here at the Annoyance?
I'm not exactly sure what that means.
I think I would say, oddly, the group of people that really got involved at first at the Annoyance were musical theater people.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, because all the people that or people that really studied theater in college, some of them had done improv, some of them had not though. And so like all the first beginning shows that the Annoyance did, co-ed and Tippy and shows like that,
All musicals.
musicals, and people that just were kind of like, had a shared theatrical background and wanted to create their own shows.
Okay. At what point in starting the Annoyance did you guys feel like, hey, this is working, let's continue doing this?
Well, the definition of working is because we're always like, 5 minutes away from bankruptcy. But the point creatively, I think artistically, is when we got our own space on Broadway years and years ago. We actually felt like we were becoming a legitimate subversive and alternative theater. And I think also the advent of this creative training program that allowed us to a little more credibility and felt a bit more substantive.
Sure.
Got our footing. And we've been in 5 different places over the last few years. So
Okay.
this one we're sitting in, we've been here 11 years,
Okay.
which is the most time we've been into it in a space. So that kind of longevity, oddly enough, getting a liquor license, all of a sudden you feel like, okay, we're a place, and now we have a liquor license.
Sure.
There's a certain amount of laws and all kinds of stuff you have to do in regard to the city to have a liquor license. So you kind of put your big boy pants on and grow up a little bit, like, okay, we have a liquor license now, we have to really do this. Because for a long time, people would bring in coolers of beer and just sit on the floor. We had no way of being able to monetize, like checking people's IDs and all that. So a lot of underage people would come in there. We would become known for that. We were all drinking, didn't give a fuck, so all that kind of culture. But I think once we got a liquor license when we were at Broadway and Lawrence, it gave us a bit of credibility from the perception of that and from our own internally.
Sure. The motto is you go to IO to learn improv, you go to Annoyance to learn how to break those rules. Do you guys agree with that mantra?
I think to a degree, I believe Second City, that's kind of a long story for me, but I can probably make it brief. When I went,
We have nothing but time.
it's you, I'm 62. I've got fucking 10 years at best. No. I think when I went to college, and as I said, I had never studied or seen or done improvisation. We learned on our own. Then when I came to Chicago, I went through Second City, I learned this whole bunch of rules, and they were all foreign to me. Like I never even knew there was a rule about improvisation. So I began to take a very cynical but look at rules as I was learning them, like what they were doing for the better, what they were not. But I was at least cynical about it. And I think that cynicism led to my way of looking at rules in improvisation. So the Annoyance, I believe, became known for kind of breaking rules and enforcing rules. I think what's married to that is the the tenet of improvisation is what's most important is listening, supporting your partner, etc. I introduced the notion that maybe the most important thing and the most supportive thing you can do in improvisation is make a choice for yourself first. And I think that became a little bit radical. I don't know why. But airlines get away with it.
I've never seen that shirt, John.
This one?
Yeah.
I thought I gave you this shirt.
You did?
I was pretty sure. I know I've given you a shirt. I was pretty sure it was this one.
Look. I love it.
If not, I have a trunk full of them.
Oh my goodness.